Something inside you is already betraying your sense of reality. A quiet manipulator doesn't change facts, they rewrite your memory. So when you're certain, why do you still doubt yourself? Because the moment you question it, they've already begun to. Because the moment you question it, they've already begun. You remember it clearly, until they don't. 3 nights ago, they said they never promised you that. You heard the words, you felt the moment land, then they looked at you without blinking. Calm certainty replaced your memory with theirs. You hesitated, and that hesitation was the fracture. You have been calling self-doubt maturity. That is how the confident liar enters your mind. They do not attack facts. They attack your confidence in facts. Recalling them, memory bends under pressure and certainty, especially when denial arrives without emotion. Picture the meeting from this week. Your idea was dismissed. Hours later, they claimed it was always theirs. When you spoke up, they smiled. That's not how it happened. Most people defend themselves and lose more ground. You are about to understand why silence reveals the trap. This is knowledge rarely spoken aloud. Because control begins where certainty collapses. The first loss is never. The argument, it is the moment your mind asks permission to trust itself, and once that question appears, something darker follows. It didn't happen once. It happened quietly again and again. Small denials slip into ordinary conversations. Tiny contradictions appear where certainty once lived. Emotional reversals twist your reactions into confusion. Each moment feels isolated, but something connects them. You have been ignoring the pattern and calling it coincidence. The hidden enemy is repetition wrapped in calm denial. They repeat their version until it feels familiar. Familiarity begins replacing accuracy inside your mind. Calm delivery lowers your resistance without you noticing. Your brain starts choosing the version that creates less conflict. Not truth, but stability becomes your priority. Picture a conversation from earlier this week. They denied saying something you clearly remember. You pushed back once, then softened your tone. They stayed calm while you felt emotional. Minutes later, you started adjusting your own memory. Most people fight harder and lose themselves faster. You are about to understand why your mind cooperates. This is not manipulation alone. This is your brain completing their work. Repetition builds a new version of events. Calm certainty makes that version feel safe. Your mind fills gaps to remove discomfort. That is how false memory begins to feel real. You weren't convinced. You were conditioned. And if conditioning works this easily, something deeper is controlling it. Reality stops belonging to you. And once that happens, even certainty feels borrowed. Memory isn't recorded, it's reconstructed. Each recall reshapes what you believe happened. You are not remembering events. You are rebuilding them under pressure. The hidden enemy is no longer only outside you. It is your own mind under influence. Confidence begins overriding accuracy in silent ways. Repetition turns suggestion into internal truth. Emotional pressure edits what your brain accepts. You start trusting intensity over evidence. You have been calling this confusion overthinking. But something else is happening beneath awareness. They don't need proof, just certainty. And certainty spoken calmly becomes your new reference point. Picture the last argument you had. You were sure of your version. They stayed calm and repeated theirs. By the end, your memory felt unstable. You stopped defending truth and started adjusting tone. That adjustment was the real shift. Most people assume memory protects them from manipulation. You are about to understand why it does not. Because memory serves emotional survival first, not factual accuracy. When truth creates conflict, the mind softens it. When denial feels safe, it becomes preferred. This is how influence becomes invisible. This is how rewriting feels like remembering. You weren't overthinking, you were being rewritten. And the more you accepted doubt, the more someone else started defining your reality. And that definition was never neutral. It was constructed for control. They didn't give you answers. They replaced your ability to question. And that is where intent becomes visible. Confusion isn't a mistake. It's a weapon. You are no longer seeing random behavior. You are seeing control architecture. Every denial was placed to destabilize you. Every calm response was designed to reset you. They break your certainty, then sell it back to you. You accept their version just to escape. Tension. You have been calling this communication, but it is psychological engineering. You keep adjusting yourself to maintain peace. That adjustment is the real point of control. You have been doing this in conversations all your life, and calling it maturity. The hidden enemy is no longer just the manipulator. It is the system they trigger inside you. Clarity gets replaced by emotional urgency, and urgency always favors whoever stays calm. Picture your last disagreement again. You pushed for truth. They pushed for stability, and stability always wins under pressure. You started doubting your own tone, then your own memory. That is control without force. Most people stay inside confusion and obey it. You are about to understand what happens outside it. Because confusion only works when you react to it. This is the part they never expect. This is where the architecture begins to fail. Not when you argue harder, but when you stop needing their clarity, and silence becomes your first act of resistance. They realize you're no longer controllable. And the moment they feel that shift, silence is where their script starts failing. You stop feeding emotional reactions into their system. No defense, no correction, no emotional escalation. Only observation replaces your previous response. The hidden enemy loses access to your self-doubt. Because self-doubt was their entry point. They expected you to argue. They expected you to collapse into confusion again. But confusion no longer gets a reaction. You are watching instead of participating. That is where their control begins to starve. You have been trained to prove yourself. You are no longer playing that role. The game breaks when you stop needing to be right, and they notice it faster than you do. Picture the next time they deny something. You stay quiet for a moment longer than usual. They repeat themselves, expecting resistance. But there is only silence. That silence disrupts their structure. You have been doing this your entire life, reacting instantly to restore emotional balance. Now that reflex is gone. Most people stay inside reaction and lose control. You are about to understand what replaces reaction. Because absence of response is not emptiness. It is authority without effort. And when authority appears without struggle, manipulation loses its anchor. This is the moment the hidden enemy adapts. Not because they changed, but because you did not respond as expected. And that unpredictability becomes dangerous for them, and when authority appears without struggle, manipulation loses its anchor. And that is where validation dies completely. You no longer need their agreement to remain stable. You stop checking faces for approval. You stop measuring truth through reaction. The hidden enemy becomes predictable instead of powerful. Every move they make becomes visible before it lands. You are no longer inside the emotional game. You are observing the structure of the game. They still speak, but their influence weakens because attention is no longer emotional. You have detached from the need to be confirmed. That need was the entry point. You don't fight them anymore. You simply see through them. And seeing is more dangerous than resistance. You have been calling doubt humility your entire life. But it was dependency on outside validation. Now that dependency has collapsed. Picture the same situation again. They deny something you clearly remember. You do not react. You do not correct. You simply register the inconsistency and move on mentally. That silence changes everything. Most people seek validation and stay controlled. You are about to understand what replaces validation. Because internal verification removes all leverage. You no longer outsource reality. You construct it through observation. This is where identity shifts permanently. You don't win by arguing. You win by seeing. And once you see it, you can't be pulled back in. The moment manipulation loses access to your doubt.